Hello and welcome to the Fatpants Podcast, a healthy part of a balanced breakfast. You already know that I'm Pants.
And I'm Slacky. Give me all the sunflower seeds, especially if it's ranch.
What lies ahead? Final battleground for all food disputes, big and small. No matter the state, the culture, or the country, there's one thing that everyone understands, and that is Fat Pants. All right, Slacky, I have for you today some new stuff and some old stuff. We'll start with the old stuff because I think that's a little bit more fun. With school year just starting up this month, and for you last month, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some different meal prep and like school lunch kind of things
Yep.
as we go through. Again, with school starting back up, a lot of people kind of put that in the same mindset of like meal prepping because you have, especially for like very nuclear families, have, okay, well, we have this school event on the weekend and so like this after school activity and this after school activity. I know you've said in the past that like your kiddo has like all sorts of different weekend things and like all
Yeah.
sorts of different activities. So you guys are pretty busy all year round, but I'm sure with the introduction of also balancing school stuff, that balance is even harder to maintain.
True. Yeah, the kiddo's got a bunch of stuff that he does during the week, and so does Killer too. She plays tennis also during the week. We definitely have, for the most part, a weekly plan for what meals are going to be made on what day, and then every once in a while we put like a thing on it where we highlight. It'll be like kiddo's choice, where he gets to choose like what we're having for dinner, and 9 times out of 10 it's Chick-fil-A. So
Hell yeah.
but yeah, I mean, having a plan for the week and being able to like prep not just like ideas of what we're going to have, but also do actual prep for meals. Like if we're having tacos on Tuesday, hey, then somebody should probably take the ground meat out of the freezer on Tuesday morning. Otherwise, we're not having tacos on Tuesday. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. I've definitely fallen into that trap many times where I immediately go, all right, I'm going to take these out of the freezer so they can defrost so I can make them tomorrow. Or like if I do it, it's like, oh, I got to take this out of the freezer and put it in the fridge in the morning, like before I go to work. So by the time I get home from work, this is ready. And then I get home from work and I didn't do it. Or I find out that it didn't get done the day before. And I'm like, all
Oh
right,
no.
we're having pizza tonight, boys.
All right.
Um,
Well, I guess we're having Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, kiddo's choice today, I guess. So that's definitely not something that I'm a stranger to, but one of the things that I found, and this is something that I know is a little more simple for me to do because there's less people I have to plan for.
Yeah.
Meal prepping and things like that, just like plotting out different meals is way easier. I only have to accommodate myself as opposed to for you guys, you have to accommodate for 3 different people's schedules. Not that necessarily
Mhm.
your child's schedule is outside of anything really outside of your schedule.
Right.
It's definitely something that is a time consuming part of the week to do. I spend like 20 minutes in the morning just trying to like figure out like, okay, what am I going to look for? Like, what am I going to have for this? I'll look at different things like different Pinterests, even like literally like TikTok has a lot of really good meal preps and things like that. I know you're not a Zoomer and using
Nope.
TikTok, but different things like that. And I'm sure Killer can attest that like, Pinterest is really good.
Yeah, she's a fan of the Pinterest. Yeah.
It's good. It's a good app for meal prepping and planning in general. So there's all sorts of things you can look at and say, oh well, this I really like, this I really like. What can I do? And for people who are on like the thriftier side of things, it's a really cost effective way to get the most out of your money because you can find recipes that use similar ingredients but don't have the same end result if you're not somebody who can eat like the same meal over and over. Fortunately, I can do that. Like I can make 8 servings of one meal and just eat that through a weekend and that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But everybody's different in that regard. Some people just can't do that. which is fine.
Killer and I are lucky. We have like we're pretty much on the same schedule. We work Monday through Friday. You know, the kiddos in school Monday through Friday, so it's easy for us to plan meals because we're all going to be in the same place pretty much at the same time when it comes to dinners. So we kind of already have like a kind of a built-in schedule on the things that the three of us like to eat, and you kind of mentioned it too. It kind of stems out of like the same kind of basic ingredients. Like we shop at Costco, so we buy the giant like package of six like chicken tenderloins or whatever it is, and we stick them in the freezer. And so when it's time to prep for meals or something, like one like usually like on a Monday it'll be like we'll just do chicken tenders in the air fryer with some mac and cheese and some green beans. And then like
Sure.
Tuesday it'll be like taco night. So like we'll do like bell peppers and chicken and we'll make like chicken tacos or you know whatever out of it, or and then ground beef, like maybe we'll do like maybe do like a taco dip, or maybe we'll do like you know hamburgers or something, you know. So like we kind of have like a, I would say, a list of about 6 or 7 different meals that we do regularly, but we also try to fold in like one or maybe one day a week where the kiddo gets to have a choice on what he wants to eat, and times out of 10 it's Chick-fil-A,
Yeah,
you know.
it's kiddo day.
Yeah, because it kind of gives him a concept of like we're not trying to just you know make you eat home lunch all the time, just or home
Hmm.
dinner, I guess you could say, all the time. Like give him a chance to choose his own thing, you know, and especially with like with our schedules too. Like you know we are home most of the time during the evenings, but there are a couple of evenings where like Killer has to play. She plays tennis, or
Hmm.
the kiddo has tennis, or you know I'm doing something, whatever, you know. So like we kind of plan around a lot of this stuff, but for the most part like it's really important for us to have a concept of a plan of what we're going to do, you know, in the evenings for dinner. And if we don't have a plan it usually turns into chaos. And you know
Hmm.
the kiddo's like it's 7 o'clock and the kiddo's like I haven't had dinner yet, I'm hungry, and you know everybody gets hangry and angry at each other. So
Yeah, that's fair. So that brings me to a question that is not on our list that I was curious about. What is dinner time in your house? Because
um
dinner time in my experience is very different in a lot of households.
no, you're right.
Like best case scenario on a normal night, like what is dinner time?
Any time between 5 and I would say between 5 and 7.
Okay.
Most of the time, it's probably after 5:30 because Hiller, she works in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and she doesn't get
Hmm.
home until like 5:30. So I would say dinner time is probably approximately around 6 o'clock.
Okay. I think that's a reasonable time.
Yeah, and and that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's hard because I work from home most of the time. Actually, I work from home all the time. So I'm always home, and the kiddo gets home before 5. So usually, Killer's the last to get home, and he like you know the kiddo's always hungry. You know,
Hmm.
I don't know if you people have kids at home, but if you realize this or not, once they hit a certain age, and I'm gonna say it's like 8, they're always hungry, and they're always in the cabinet in the pantry just digging out whatever snacks or whatever they can find. So the kiddos like in the pantry all the time between the hours of like 4 and 6, you know, when he gets home from school to when dinner actually gets served, looking for a snack. And I'm having constantly to tell him, get out of there, we're going to have dinner soon. And he's like, well, what time is mom getting home? And I'm like, none of your business, stay out of the cabinet, you know. So it's hard, but I would say, to answer your question the long way around, dinner time is usually around 6 if we have something planned for dinner.
Okay, that makes more sense. I know for me growing up, just because my mom worked pretty far away
Mhm.
when I was real young, so she wouldn't get home until like 6:30 or 7. So like for a while, our like dinner time was like 7:30.
Oh, it's late.
Um, yeah, I was like friends with the kids that lived next door to me, and because they had older siblings that had like organized sports stuff, they
Yeah.
ate dinner at like 4:30 because
Jeez.
there's sport things
Yeah.
like my town growing up had a lot of like nighttime sports that would start at like 5:30. So these they would eat dinner at like 4:30 in the afternoon so they could go and like be full through the through the day.
Right.
And then they probably ate something like a snack kind of thing while they were out like doing that stuff.
Mhm.
But it was just like, man, that's rough. Like I can't think of eating dinner at 4:30. But
Yeah.
at the same time, now I'm like, my schedule now is so It's so wild. So I'll eat breakfast at like 6 a.m. I'll eat something like just shy of quantity to be considered a meal for like lunch at like noon, noon 30ish, somewhere in there. And then I'll either eat like right when I get home around 4, or I'll eat like between like 4 and 6, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
And then that's it. So like, so even though for so long I was like, wow, dinner at 4 is dumb. Like, how are you not just hungry? Now I do it all the time.
Yeah, I think for us, like the way the week goes, like Monday the kiddo has tennis, Tuesday and Wednesday the killer has tennis, and so Thursday is kind of like our day to where we kind of be a family where we're not rushed to do anything.
Hmm.
And that's usually the time when the kiddo gets to choose like what we're having for dinner. Because we usually watch like it's like we'll watch a show on Thursday evenings together. And currently we're watching Ahsoka right now. But we usually choose like some kind of like a show where we can just kind of sit down, have a meal, and just hang out. We try to do the family around the table thing, and I would say, Pants, I would say maybe once a week we do it, but it's hard when everyone's got extracurricular activities in the evening to kind of like, when everyone gets home, it's like, okay, I'm going to scramble and make dinner. And then in 30 minutes, somebody's got to leave to go do something. And the last thing anybody wants to do is eat like a huge dinner and then go play tennis for an hour, hour and a half. This doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
So like we really try to do once a week where we three of us sit around the table, and I'll be honest with you, the kiddo hates it. He wants so badly to go upstairs and play with his friends if he's got any kind of free time whatsoever. And he's looking at me
Hmm.
like, "Why are we sitting at the table?" I'm like, "Because I said so, damn it." So
Yeah. It's like, because this is a dinner table. We eat dinner here.
yeah.
That the hardest concept for my family growing up. Like dinner table, place for mail. Like
Mhm.
dinner table is where we put stuff. Like we put the groceries on the dinner table while we're unloading them into the kitchen. Dinner table is
Yeah.
for anything but dinner unless it's a holiday, in which
Yeah.
case it can be for dinner.
And it's like it takes no more than like 20 minutes, and usually everyone's done. So it's not like we're inconveniencing anyone out of like an hour's worth of their time. Like
Sure.
when we have dinner at the table, it's like food's already made, everyone sit down, let's eat, talk about your day, and then 20 minutes later, you're fine. You can leave.
Hmm.
But I know it's an old school concept. I don't know how many people out there, like families like what I have,
Hmm.
strive to have that concept still in the house when it comes to dinners, because when you've got kids my age, you've always got something going on, and it's hard to do that.
I think that the dinner around the table dynamic
Mhm.
is very specifically like utilized now, at least by families that are big communication families,
Yeah.
like people like families that actively talk to each other. Because that was the thing that was always like interesting to me. Like those same family that I'm talking about, that like they ate dinner at 4:30. They weren't an around the table dinner family. They were like a, hey, dinner's ready. Come and put dinner on your plate, and then go eat it wherever you're gonna eat it.
Yeah.
And it was like I was like, that was weird, because even though like late dinner, like 7 p.m., like sitting
Mhm.
down to eat, even if it wasn't necessarily at the same table, it was like, okay, well, we're all gonna be either like living room around the TV kind of
Yeah.
dinner, or like just in the same room doing whatever we're doing, but like that like alone together thing. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, like you're all still here. There's a lot of people that dunk on like the dinner around the TV instead of a
Yeah.
dinner around the table idea, but I think that that's like a much better social dynamic
Mhm.
for a lot of people to endure, because it's a lot less formal,
Right.
and I like it.
No, like I used to think like when I was a kid, like my family, I grew up. I have an older brother, so it was the four of us, and we would have dinner a lot of the times around the TV, where we would eat and sit and watch TV. And growing up now, like thinking of me being old now, looking back on it, thinking now I understand why they kind of did it that way. It's the concept of bringing everyone together, even if we're only like consuming like one thing where we're all just watching the TV and we're not really having any conversation.
Sure.
You know, we're still spending time as a family. And so like now that I'm old, I just mentioned on Thursday nights we sit around the living room, have dinner and watch TV, and it's like the only time that I can get our whole family together for longer than like 15 minutes, you
Hmm.
know? Because the kiddo had his choice, he'd be upstairs in the loft
Oh
watching
yeah,
whatever's on
that
YouTube or
kid
playing with his
glued
kid for his friends.
glued to his digital media. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it's
And
me.
and it's the yeah, it's like there's so many choices these days, and we're getting really off track here, but it doesn't matter. There's so many choices these days with like what kids can do, whether it's they want to watch YouTube or they want to watch Netflix or they can watch whatever's on whatever streaming service, or they can watch YouTube or they can play video games or whatever, which is what my kid typically does. Whereas when I was a kid, you had one choice. You had one TV, and there was only one thing that was usually on. And for us, it was Star Trek Next Generation, shout out. And
Nerd.
that's yeah, heck yeah, I'm a nerd. And that's what we would watch as a family because that's what we were all interested in. And at the same time, that was really the only choice because it was either that or the nightly news. And
Hmm.
no, so like now I look at like back on it and I appreciate the concept of gathering the family. Yeah, it's around the TV and I could hear people through the podcast going, yeah, just get around the table. What's wrong with you? Like
I don't think anyone's
it's
gonna say that.
hard.
I think
I know,
that's a boomer concept.
probably.
Um,
I think you're right. I think the concept of getting a family around the table is a very 1980s, 1990s kind of concept, which is something that I still try to do with our family as
sure.
often as we can, which, like mentioned earlier, is maybe once a week. I would
Hmm.
probably just put it at maybe once every 2 weeks, honestly.
And that makes
And
sense.
and guaranteed I get the eye rolls from the child when he finds out that he's having dinner at the table.
Womp
You know,
womp
it's
womp. Your
it's
life's hard.
literally it's prison. You're in prison, kid. Get
Yeah.
at the table.
All right. So dinner planning aside, like when is dinner and things like that. We talked about meal prepping before, and we kind of immediately went, here's something about meal prep, and then we ran away with something else. But I want to
Ah,
bring it. I want to bring it back to that because tangents aside, I do like to maintain focus sometimes. As far as
imagine.
meal prep goes, you guys said that you try to usually stick to a few meals generally. Like okay, like these 5 meals are in rotation all the
Yeah,
time, and I get that.
pretty much.
Like that's a really easy way to operate, especially if they're different enough that you can have them in close-ish proximity and not mind it. Like I said before, I went and got my groceries right before we did this. So like for me, it's really easy. Like I just get enough of whatever I'm going to eat and it's just like that for like so for this week it's like I have 4 meals that are identical meals. It's useful for me for a lot of reasons. One, it's a big time saver, it's a big cost saver. Two, three, from like a nutritional perspective, it helps me keep the idea in my head of like what I'm eating, how much I'm eating, etc. And it's all just stuff that helps stay focused with how my eating habits and stuff are. So it's really easy and like a lot of people can't successfully meal prep because they despise like reheated food and leftovers and stuff like that. I I asked you before we started recording how you felt about leftovers because this is it's hard to
Yep.
tell. It's usually you can like get a good feel for how somebody feels. Like reheated pizza, completely fine. Reheated french
Right.
fries, putrid and disgusting. It doesn't matter who you are. No one likes reheated fries.
Maybe in an air fryer,
Maybe
but
in
you're
an
right.
air fryer, but traditionally, no one likes a
You're right.
reheated french fry.
No.
If you like a reheated french fry, leave a comment so I can tell you you're wrong.
Reheated french fries just they like disintegrate in your mouth and it's just disgusting.
Yeah, they get grainy and mealy and bad.
Bleh.
But reheated pizza, good. They
Right.
like even cold pizza, good. Generally, leftovers, great, but not what we're here for. We'll talk about leftovers more in November. So the idea for meal prep for me, cooking like 8 servings of rice, and it's like, okay, portion all that out. Easy. Cook like four servings and 4 servings. So like what I usually do just to for my own sanity, I'll get like 3 pounds of chicken thighs or something and split that and cook them half of them one way and half of them another way just for some diversity in like what I'm eating. But same deal, just like portion out. And then like whatever vegetable that isn't anything that's not a root vegetable is fine. Same deal. Eight servings, split them out, go to town, put them all in my little fancy Tupperwares, throw them in the fridge, and then grab them like throw one in my bag before I go to work. Bing bang
Right.
boom, lunch done, healthy, easy to eat, clean food, etc. That really helps a lot for like my time during the week. And stuff like that is really easy for me because it's, I don't know, when I really like put a lot of time and effort into it, it takes like maybe 2 hours of my day, three if I take a long time.
Yeah.
But again, if you can't eat leftovers or like an equivalent leftover, like reheated food, it's hard.
I understand the concept of meal prepping. Right now, like where we're at in our family, it doesn't necessarily make sense for us
Sure.
in a way. Like my wife works in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but her company basically buys them lunch.
Hmm.
And most of the time it's good, and every once in a while it's something weird, and she just like will Postmates herself something, or DoorDash herself something that she would actually like better. But like I said, I understand the concept of meal prepping. Like first of all, allowing yourself the concept of I'm going to eat healthy this week, and the only way for me to eat healthy is to have a plan on what I'm going to eat, and this is what I'm going to eat. The idea of I'm going to have a salad, and just pre portion out the salads, and then whatever else you want to put on the salad. I've done that before. Like when I worked in an office, I've done that before, and my wife has too. It's just that right now we don't have to. My sister-in-law, she's a school teacher, and she spends like an hour to 2 hours every Sunday planning and cooking and prepping her lunches at school for the week.
Hmm.
And so like the concept of meal prepping, it makes sense for those who have a need for it, or who want to have a plan, and not go off the rails and eat fast food, every day for lunch, that kind of thing. So the concept of meal prepping, I feel, is good. It's just right now in our family, it's not relevant, I guess you could say, for
Sure.
us right now.
And that makes sense. Like basically what I was saying before, where every family's gonna have a different dynamic of like what works and what doesn't work, etc. Especially for like meal timing
Mm.
and consistency and things like that. So that makes sense. Like because of how busy you guys are, it's not, I don't think it would be like advantageous to do a whole bunch of stuff to make a bunch of one thing and kind of work with that because there's so much all over the place. Like, oh, well, do we have time for this? Do we have time for this? And it's also just like, you know, it's easier to just not eat the same meal 5 times a
Yeah.
week sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when I was at my like peak of like meal prepdom, and it's the reason I keep saying eight when I count out how many meals. It's because I would just make the same thing and have it for lunch and dinner,
Yeah.
except for like on the weekends, it would be a little bit different.
I would go out on a limb and say, for those who are on a diet, who are on a very like strict diet, I would probably say meal prepping is almost a necessity to keep you from eating things that you're trying to stay away from. Like like what you mentioned, I'm going to prep myself 8 to 10 meals for the week, and I'm going to stick with this, and I'm
Hmm.
not going to deviate. And it's just kind of a way to help you stay on track when it comes to being on a diet versus just free for alling it and being like, hey, I'm gonna do Popeyes for lunch today,
Exactly.
just go completely off the rails. Like, no, I took the time, I spent all of this money and all this time to make sure that these are the meals that I'm going to eat this week, and I'm going to stick with it. And I think it takes also somebody too who can eat the same thing every day, because there's not a lot of people out there who can just stick to eating the same thing every day every week.
Oh, sure.
Uh, I'm the kind of person that could probably eat something every day for a week, because
Hmm.
I kind of like routine in that way, in that sense. But every once in a while my brain's just going to scream, I can't do this shit anymore, I need something different.
Yeah. All right, Slacky. So you know how before I was like, oh, we're gonna talk about an old thing.
Mhm.
Well, I lied, and we didn't talk about the old thing immediately. Like, we immediately talked about the new thing, and now we're gonna actually talk about the old thing. And the
Yeah.
old thing in question is school lunch.
Yes.
So we talked a little bit right at the very beginning about like going back to school, or
Mhm.
like back into like getting back into like your scheduled routines and things like that. Back to school. TM school started here this month, and then over there started last month. So between the two of us, neither of us have ever been to school, which explains a lot of our opinions.
True.
But one of the things that I know that we, even as people who grew up on opposite sides of the country and 10 years apart, we have a lot of shared experience. And we're going to tie that into what we were just talking about shared experiences with the beauty that is the old school lunch menu.
You and I were discussing the concept of the lunch, old school lunch, you say traditional school lunch, from like the late 80s, early 90s, late 90s, I guess for you, versus how school lunches are today, and what I look at when my kiddo goes to school and the
Hmm.
stuff that they serve. And so for me, when I think about old school lunches when I was a kid, the first thing that pops into everyone's head is the square pizza
Oh, yeah.
with whatever's on the side. Usually was like corn because it was easy to prep, with
Hmm.
a carton of milk and some kind of dessert, whether it was like peaches or fruit or an apple or something like that. But I think this square pizza, I think, is probably the most nostalgic school lunch from when you were a kid. The second one for me, and I don't know what it is for you, the second one for me is usually the chicken nuggets with the mashed potatoes and the roll. And what I would always do is I would take the roll and I would open it up like a sandwich. I would put the chicken nuggets in the roll with the mashed potatoes and then dip it usually in gravy, because I think it was mine, and where I grew up in Texas, it was served with gravy because everything was served with gravy.
Hmm.
And that was like my favorite lunch. I think I sometimes liked that more than I liked the pizza, to be honest. So those are like the two main old school lunches that I remember as a kid. I don't know if there's anything that pops out for you when you think of like school lunch from like
Oh, yeah.
school.
There's one like definitive, like obvious, obvious the square pizza is the way to go.
Hmm.
But our school, my school systems, every Wednesday was a chicken thing. It didn't matter what it was. It was some different way of chicken, but Wednesday was chicken day. Friday was pizza day, just like the song.
The best day of the week.
Yeah, shout out to the Aquabats. Thursday, no one cares about, but Tuesday. So like we had like a lot of like cyclical food. So like XYZ would always happen on a Tuesday, or
Yeah.
XYZ meal would always happen on a Thursday. Like every once in a while, we'd get like a breakfast for lunch thing, and it was like French toast something or other.
That's
No,
legit.
it was like low quality French toast sticks.
They're still not bad though. Like
No,
what Burger King used to serve, or
yeah,
whoever it
like
was that French toast
you can
sticks.
just like buy them at the store.
Yeah.
Like Eggo's makes French toast sticks. But they were good, but that would always happen on Thursday or whatever it was. Whenever the taco day would happen, like best day, because this might be something that like makes you date yourself to some capacity, but like I think school lunch when I was at lunch was like $2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would know it's like, oh well, it's tomorrow is tacos day. So they'd bring $4. And they would just get a double lunch. Like they would just buy two lunches
Yeah. Nice.
and just make like the biggest taco you could make, because our taco day was like ground beef, and then it was like rice, and then a different thing of like black beans, and then like you said, like your fruit or your milk, your little milk carton. We were
Mhm.
lucky, we were spoiled. We could pick either a milk carton or a juice thing.
What?
I was a juice guy, yeah. But people would just show up and have like two lunches, and it would just be like they'd make like a 3 pound taco because it was just
Yes.
they just go crazy. And then it's like after lunch, you'd be like, "Hey, why's Jerry dead in his chair?" It's like, "Oh, well, he ate 3 pounds of taco meat at 10 a.m., so he's not feeling great."
He's 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 done for the rest of the day. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
but
what the funny thing is, I'm thinking about like lunch as a kid, and we all know that once you get to high school, you don't eat the school lunch anymore. You pretty much just pick whatever's out of the vending machines.
bingo.
You don't eat the school lunch. So this is like late. This is like elementary school, maybe middle school.
Hmm.
For me, it was like $1, 50, for
Okay.
the school lunch, 30 cents for the milk carton if you wanted an extra one. I remember
Hmm.
that like distinctly because I I loved the milk. I always wanted to drink the
You're a
milk.
milk guy.
I am, yeah. But I can't remember like whether it is I really wanted to eat the school lunch all the time or not. And I'm saying this to transition in a way because my child refuses to eat the school lunch at school.
That's
Just
funny.
refuses. And it's free too for him. Like we don't have to pay for it. It's not
Dang.
like it's not like a prepay thing or he has to take cash. It's free. He can just show up and be like, "Hey, I'm hungry," and they'll give him 3 trays of food. Like they
Damn.
don't care. He refuses to eat the school lunch. He hates it. And like maybe he might pick something, but I say that to transition to the idea of we talked about old school versus new school. The way that the school lunches are prepared today are almost completely different than what they
Mhm.
were like the 20, 30 years ago. And I have the list, like the menu for my child, his school, and what they're supposed to eat, like tomorrow, for instance. And the first thing on the list is mini cheeseburger sliders. And how does that sound to you, Pants, as a school lunch?
That sounds
I know you're a big
fucking that sounds
I know
quality.
you're a big sliders fan. I know that. Edamame is a vegetable, baby carrots, apple slices, side of ranch. Let's go,
Yeah.
and white and chocolate milk to choose from. They also get a choice, Pants, and the
Why?
choice is
Why?
you can have the entree or you can have the vegetarian option. They have vegetarian options now, Pants.
That's
Tomorrow's
crazy.
option is a grilled cheese sandwich. I mean, sure, I guess we could call that vegetarian. Why not? I mean, it doesn't have meat. Most of the time, the vegetarian options are usually a bean and cheese burrito. Every once in a while, they'll throw in a black bean patty hamburger.
Mhm.
And that's what my child loved when he was like kindergarten, first, second grade. Anytime it was the veggie burger, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna eat it." Anything else though, and especially nowadays, he hates the school lunch. He doesn't eat it. It's just really annoying. But yeah, the difference between like today and 20 or 30 years ago is I think the quality has gone way up.
Oh, sure.
Thankfully, because me as a parent, I'm like, if my child's gonna eat the school lunch, I cringe the things that I ate as a kid, and I survived, but still, it's like.
Yeah.
Chili dogs, Salisbury steak.
All right, so chili dog, not bad.
I know, just but for a kid's lunch, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. There were this is super tangential. I was at Wawa the other day and they have like a little warmer that they have just hot dogs and stuff in
mhm,
like every other convenience store and I was like and I walked past it. I was there for a completely different piece of consumable and
right.
I was like maybe I'll get a hot dog instead. I grab one other thing and I'm standing in line and like two like younger people walk past me who looked like they were wearing like whatever kind of like athletic gear and
Right.
the one guy looks at the thing and he's like oh nice hot dog and I guess like the girl who was with, she's like ah like she sighed and was like
Mhm.
annoyed that he wanted a hot dog and some random stranger was just like no, those hot dogs are good. And he was like the younger guy was like, yeah, and like that was all of the like
That's the extent of the
the
conversation.
no, that was like the only motivation he needed to pull the trigger and get himself the hot dog he wanted. It was just such a funny interaction
That's silly.
because hot dogs everyone knows hot dogs are shit, but like they taste good.
Of course. I want to direct your attention, Pants, to
Yes.
Friday at the kiddos' school lunch.
What kind of bougie pizza does this boy get?
Barbecue rib sandwich on a whole grain roll.
That's not
It's a
pizza.
it's a McRib,
Yeah,
Pants.
but it's pizza. It's not
No, it's
pizza.
not. The pizza day is Thursday. I hate to
What the
bust your bubble.
no.
Pizza day is pepperoni pizzas on Thursday. I'm trying to tell you that on Friday at my kid's school they're having a McRib.
No, see, that's wrong. That's that's criminally insane, and I don't appreciate it.
Well, he could always choose the bean and cheese burrito if he wants to. Sugar
Also,
snap peas with radish coins, honeydew melon,
mm,
and milk.
that sounds nice. I'm going to his school.
Basically, it's free too, by the way, if
You're
you're a student though, and you're definitely not a student.
I read
Um,
at the same academic level.
Probably. all I'm saying is there's a huge difference between like the idea of how school lunches are prepared these days versus when it was 20, 30 years ago. And
Sure.
I think it has a lot to do with, I know I'm going to get super political here, so I apologize. I
Oh
know it's
no.
what Michelle Obama had a lot
Hmm.
to do with that, with the, no kid goes hungry, I think is what it was,
Yeah.
where she really tried to elevate the concept of school lunches for kids. And to be honest, I'm a huge proponent in that.
It's an important thing. And like as much as I dislike children,
Mhm.
they should still be provided a healthy lunch. I think that's fair and
Yes.
reasonable. I think if you're gonna enslave a child and make them learn academic things that they don't want, the
Mhm.
least you could do is feed them real food. I think that's a fair trade.
Hey, Pants,
Yep.
direct you to Wednesday, mini corn dogs with deli roaster potatoes.
See, that sounds nice. I wouldn't pair corn dog with potato because it's too different. Like it's two
Mhm.
different carbs. Like that's too carb heavy in my opinion. But fuck it, who cares? That still sounds good.
Celery sticks with yam sticks. It looks like a sweet potato fry. Is what it looks like.
Yeah,
So it's getting mini corn dogs with potatoes and sweet potato fries. It's a lot of starch, but hey, what
that's
are
a
you gonna do?
lot. I think
That's
it's kind of sussy that the school's like yam sticks instead of sweet potato French fry. Like, granted, yam and sweet potato not the same thing. We'll talk about that in November. But
true.
a little
Uh,
bold of them to offer three different forms of potato.
let's see.
That
Yeah,
sounds pretty
the
good.
chick
It sure
the
beats like
yeah, chicken nuggets looks good. Right, next Friday, I have to
okay.
point this out to you. I'm just literally just going through the menu, just looking at it.
Oh yeah.
There's a teriyaki chicken bowl,
See,
smoked barbecue chicken and brown rice topped with teriyaki sauce.
that sounds really nice.
Yeah, like imagine like how maybe if we would have been a lot smarter if we had had this kind of food for lunch and
I
not like square
yeah.
pizza and Salisbury steak.
Yeah. I don't think
Shout out to
anything would have
shout out
helped
to
us.
Shout out to tater tots though. Those were the bomb. Everybody loves tater tots, right?
Yeah,
You like
tater
tater
tots are
tots?
fantastic. Yeah, I was sneezing, sorry.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, tater tots are goaded. I do remember my high school had an alternative like lunch, like you could get whatever the regular lunch was, or they just had like a sandwich bar, like a deli counter, where they would just
Nice.
like make a sandwich for you. It was more expensive than like the regular lunch,
Yeah.
and it took a little bit longer because it was only like two or three people making sandwiches, but it was a better quality food and it was like a more fresh thing. So that was I thought that was a good thing. But I agree with what you're saying that like the big push for healthier food,
Yeah.
better food, generally speaking, and like a more diverse option list is really good. I was looking at the like the local high school cafeteria menu from I found one from like 2 years ago, being like, okay, on this day you're gonna eat square pizza. On this day you're gonna eat a chicken nugget or a chicken tender, which is just a longer chicken nugget. This day you're gonna
It's
get white people taco night. This night or this day rather, you're gonna
white
get
people taco night.
dude, we're gonna get copyright strike. Um, but instead of having like the same like five things that are all very like generic, low flavor things, it's nice
Yeah.
to see that like the kids are getting a little bit more exposure to like different styles of food. Like you pointed out, like one of the meals was edamame.
Yeah.
My nieces love edamame. There's no
Yeah.
instance in their school system that they would ever try it or know it, but they eat it and they're crazy for it. Same thing
Them.
like sugar snap peas is another one that you said, pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
Not really something that like most kids are really gonna come across unless they come from a household that eats a lot of sugar snap peas. I really I can't think of like one specific like style of food that has a lot of sugar snap peas, but I don't see them being used frequently. I
Yeah.
do
Kiddo loves
have
it. Kiddo loves it
oh
at edamame too.
and
Sorry.
it's good. It's just it's fun to eat. Um and it's good for you. So I do have one question that I was thinking of because we talked about it when we were talking about meal prepping and some back to school stuff. But the other like back to school thing kind of flows with back to work. So I for work like you said you're remote every day of the week and Killer's remote 2 days a week, right?
Yes. No,
Okay. Or
she's
no.
remote. She's remote 3 days a week. She's
Okay.
home Monday,
So
Friday.
got it. I had it backwards. So the days that she goes into the office, you said that they pretty much buy her lunch, like not her specifically, but everyone. Does she bring any like snackable things with her? Because I bring like I'm in the office 3 days a week. I bring so many snacks. I bring I'll bring like this and that I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna eat this in like on my way to work,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna eat this little thing at 10, so I'm not hungry for the middle of the day, and then I'll eat this little thing like at like 3 o'clock, like right before I come home, or like 2 o'clock before I leave or whatever. I don't eat a full lunch because I eat a little snack like at mid morning and mid afternoon in place of like one big lunch because it just keeps me sustained for longer.
Right.
But that brings me to two thoughts. One, are you guys car eaters? Not like people that eat cars.
Um,
Are you people that eat in your car?
uh,
Or like, how do you feel about people that eat in their car?
I don't mind. I don't mind it. People eating in their car.
Mm,
We're not really big on eating in the car unless we're like on a road trip, like a road
sure.
trip kind of thing. Um, like Killer will like when she goes into the office, she might like take something like in the car to eat with her,
Hmm.
whether it's like a protein bar or
Yeah.
like a breakfast sandwich, but most of the time we usually have enough time in the morning to just kind of wolf down some kind of breakfast. So I would probably say that on the grand scale of things, I would say we were probably not huge car eaters.
Okay.
I mean, well, the kiddo is, but that's just because he's snacking all the time and he grabs like six snacks as he's jumping in the car. And
Hmm.
the back seat of both of our cars is just a graveyard for goldfish and fruit snacks. So I think all parents can kind of relate to that. But as for me, I usually don't eat in the car, and Killer only eats in the car like if she like has to, like if she's in a hurry, that kind of thing. But yeah, I would say no, we're not huge car eater people.
Can I this is can I name this episode a graveyard for goldfish?
Sure.
All right, cool. Because that's just the most metal thing you've ever said, and I liked it.
I'm telling you, every parent with a child under the age of 10 will relate. They will turn around and look in the back of their car and see just broken dead goldfish in the seat, in the cracks everywhere, and it just
That's
hurts
really
their
funny.
child for
That's
that.
really funny. So my my other question. So I'm definitely, admittedly, I'm a car eater. Absolutely. I
Mm,
It's just easier, especially like I have an hour drive to work. So my options are wake up earlier to eat something before I leave, or just eat it while I'm driving.
yeah.
So that's just easier. But my other question we like kind of talked about snacking in general on things like you said, like a protein bar or anything like that. Like those are probably my go-tos. I'm a big like trail mix person as well.
Mhm.
Things like that. If jerky wasn't more expensive than gold, I would eat way more jerky um
True.
as well because that's an easy thing and is good to just eat because I'm just going to chew on it for 45 years.
Right.
And it's like, okay, well, I've been eating this one piece of jerky for 12 minutes. Like I'm not full, but my jaw hurts now, so I'm done eating.
Yeah.
Like
Yes. My jaw's gonna pay for this in like 3 hours.
uh-huh.
Yeah. Like I don't know if we've discussed the road trip snacks uh
No.
in the
No.
podcast before, and I'm not sure if
We
this
can
is the
we can
place
we can we can
place or
do
time to do
we
it.
can sneak it in right now. That's fine.
I mean, I would say like, beef jerky is way up there when it comes to road trip snacks, just
Absolutely.
because it kind of gives you that protein, without having to eat like a full lunch,
Yep.
kind of thing. Any kind of chips, I guess, would be okay. Killer loves, and she can't find them anymore. Hot fries,
Hot
and
fries go crazy. They're so good.
specifically the Tom's branded hot fries, which you could really only find in the South. And I think Andy Caps has a version. There's probably another version, like another
Yeah.
brand, but for her specifically,
Handicaps are the ones that I like.
she's very specific with the Toms. Toms also has a bacon cheddar fries. These are basically bacon flavored cheese, kind of like
Mhm.
like it's just like a little cornstarch crispy thing. Those are really good, but she loves the hot fries. Those are probably her number one road trip snack if she can find it.
Hot fries are really
Uh,
good. That's what a pull. I haven't thought about hot fries in a while.
And then I guess the only other thing I can think of when it comes to road trip snacks for me, which I'm really big on, which can cause quite a mess, for me, are sunflower seeds. I'm a huge sunflower seeds on a road trip because it
Yeah.
gives my brain something else to think about other than the road. Because most of
Mhm.
the time, about 70% of the time, I'm the one who's driving in a road trip scenario.
Sure.
Um, And so like I would need something to keep my mind from staring at the road. So like I'll chew on sunflower seeds and
Mhm.
spit out the seeds, and my wife just she can't stand it, but it
And
gives
and
me something to do.
I feel like that is it's like the perfect road trip snack because the sunflower seeds specifically because you can spit your sunflower seeds out the window if you wanted to. Maybe that's littering. They're biodegradable and natural. So in my book, it's not littering.
Usually
Just
go with an empty soda bottle.
sure, yeah, you treat it like a dip cup
Yeah,
and go to town that way. That's fine. I approve of that too. I'm gonna go buy sunflower seeds next time I'm at
ranch
Wawa.
flavored.
No, I don't like the ranch flavored ones. I don't really like flavored sunflower seeds.
I figured you'd be all over like the dill pickle
I
flavor or whatever
so
that they
I
have.
do and don't like them. I like them, but if I eat more than like a small handful of them, like
Hmm.
the taste of them gets like gross and I don't like it anymore. And like I immediately lose interest in how they taste. So I just don't get them. Like maybe I'll get like the barbecue ones if anything.
Hmm. Hmm. Barbecue's good.
But even that, like a regular salt one, like or like a lightly salted is fine. Do you have we haven't given any advice in a long time.
Mm.
Do you have any advice for the 5 people that listen to this?
Mm. On
Or
anything?
well, food related. Keep it
Ah,
topical. Meal
ah,
prep mayhaps. Also to the 5 people that consistently listen to this, you're all great.
yes,
Everyone
100%.
else that made it to this point, you're still great. You're just less
Hold
great,
on.
but close.
Mm, everyone's great in my opinion. If
That's a I've met a lot of people.
that are all right, we're getting off track. Advice, I would say if you're going for meal prep, I would say try to do something within your meal prep that individualizes what you're making. When it comes to like say for salads, for instance, maybe like switch up your dressing a couple of times a week to kind of keep yourself from eating the same thing every time. Or like when it comes to like chicken, maybe throw in a different spice or something on top of it to kind of give yourself a little variety. That way it doesn't feel like you're eating the same thing every time.
I think that's good advice. I think that's good. I stand by that for the first time ever. Everybody mark it down.
Oh no,
We agreed.
podcast is over.
That's it.
Thanks,
Podcast over.
thanks, thanks for listening.
If you've made it this far, thanks for listening. Next month, Slacky and I are going to get on our costumes and we're going door to door as we discuss the best Halloween treats we can get our hands on. This has been the Fat Pants Podcast.